Yo, no maniacs. What's going on? What's good afternoon, man? This is Nomad Live, all bears all the time in conjunction with Sports Zone Chicago. My guy Superback Sean Sierra. We got the Canuck that joined us today, and we got Keith over there in the corner, man. We're about to get real busy. And yes, your range, you are absolutely right, man. Let's get those likes up. Get those likes up. I heard it's only 11 and we got 29 in the chat. So let's, as everybody trickles in, man, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the show, please hit the subscribe, man. That would be great. But man, oh man, do we have a lot to talk about today. Before we dig all the way into it, let's just go around the horn and give some pleasantries right quick, and then we'll start digging in. Start with you, kid.
Hey, No Maniacs, thanks for joining us on a Monday. Should be fun. We're going to dig into a little bit of Peter King and his foray on Twitter, etc. Outside of that, always fun. We're getting super close to that combine. Keith, what are you thinking?
Hey, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Kids, my man, all I'm going to say is this. Let's get it cracking, man. I cannot wait. I talk about stoked, brother. I am stoked. I'm charged up. I got the cables to me. Let's get it going.
Go ahead, John.
No maniacs, sports owners. Thanks for tuning in. Today's going to be a good show. I'm fired up. I think Peter King, on his way out the door, said, "Hey, let me drop one last nugget, one last good piece of info before I'm out and I'm retired."
All right. So before we get into what everybody came here to hear about and talk about, let's get into some late breaking news, some little developments going on the franchise tag front. We got a list of running backs that will not be tagged, and they will hit the market to see what they can get in free agency. I'm sure there'll be those teams that they're relative to will probably make offers to them, but they will hit the free agent markets. Maybe some of them sign right away. I don't know, man. But if you don't mind putting up that list, so you have this is Harrison Graham from I don't forget what that site is that he does. Harrison, I forget. What is that? What is that? Chat Sports or something
Chat
like
Sports.
that.
Bears now.
Right.
Bears now.
Bears
right.
now, yeah. Yep.
The following running backs are not receiving the franchise tag per Adam Schefter: Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, and Tony Pollard. You can take it down, Chris, if you want. But there was last year, man, if you guys remember, man, I made a strong case for Josh Jacobs in free agency if he were to hit the market. And I think they ended up tagging him, right? Or I don't know exactly what happened, but
He signed up for a 1 year.
1 year deal, okay. And so I felt like last year he was the perfect back for our system. And I still think he is. I like Tony Pollard. Like Saquon, I like all those backs. Austin Eckler. It's just
I like
about
Eckler. Yeah.
what we're going to talk about, fellas. And one at a time, we're gonna talk about whether or not we think it's feasible to spend money in the running back market and free agency versus some other positions. I'm open to listening, but I'll have my thoughts to it.
Oh, man. So this is an interesting one because I like the way that our team runs the ball across the board, including the offensive line and their ability to create holes. Could we use an upgrade at that position? I'm going to have to say, yeah, man. Like, I believe that we could use an upgrade. I also don't believe that that we're going to bring back why am I blanking out on the name? Not Herbert, but
Deontay Foreman.
Deontay Foreman.
Deontay Foreman. Thank you. I'm blanking out there. In any event, I don't see him coming back here. I'm not sure if it was really a Foreman versus Getsy thing, which is what I'd speculated in the past, but maybe it's a Foreman versus the Bears thing. And if that's the case, then odds are we won't be seeing him in a Bears uniform in 2024. That being said, that kind of opens the door for, right? Like, it opens the door for any one of those guys. I would love to see Derrick Henry in a Bears uniform. I just have to say that. It would be a disgusting prospect for anybody on the opposing defense. Josh Jacobs is he's a great option too because of his pass catching ability as well as running the ball capability. Dual threat there. I think that would really help out whoever's under center. Saquon, a little bit different for me. I wouldn't really Saquon. That's just me, but I think it's viable to at least look at these guys and maybe make a play for them anywhere between 8 and 12, especially with that added cap space. Why not? What do you think, Keith?
I'm with you on that one. The ones that I, Josh Jacobs is one, definitely high on my list. I'm an Austin Eckler fan. I like Austin Eckler. One, he's durable, man. Dude is pretty durable. He can catch it out of the backfield too. Got great acceleration, can run between the tackles. He can also have the ability to kind of bounce it out. But that Derrick Henry, saying that Derrick Henry is not going to be tagged, is very intriguing because, like you said, kids, that cat running downhill, don't nobody want to see that, man.
You don't
Especially
want
in
to
the
touch
months,
that.
especially in the months of November and December, baby. You are definitely not trying to tackle him. It would become a business decision if you are an
I'm
either
glad because
safety,
it's like
DB.
that cold weather, right? You're freezing cold. You try
Ooh,
to make that tackle,
man, no, you're not
and
doing
Derrick
that.
Henry just run you down. You don't want nothing to do with
No,
that.
man,
I'm calling
it's a
it
business
sick.
decision, man. All of a sudden, you're gonna come up with a cramp. You're gonna come up with a reason. That's for sure. What you think, Super Bat?
I do like all of them. I do like Derrick Henry would be nice. I like Saquon Barkley, and I think the fact is the longer you wait, okay, the more his price comes down. I think the guy is a complete back. I think he's very special. His biggest problem was he just couldn't stay healthy. That's it. Because if he could stay healthy, man, he is a one of those special kind of backs, but he just can't stay healthy. So the
Right.
longer you wait, guess what? The more his price comes down because they got a lifestyle. They got they want to get paid. So if you're not trying to break the bank, and even if even if here's my thing, we just got the increase in the cap. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm okay with getting free agents this year and front loading this contract. I'm okay
There
with
you
that.
go.
Okay, and then next year their contract will be less. So if you get them a 2 years deal or something like that, I'm okay with that. Okay,
Yeah.
but I really like Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs as well, Derrick Henry. Yeah, that would. I don't know if that's legal because I don't know if that's legal in the contiguous 48. Okay, but if it is, I definitely want to look at that and see it. And and again, some people, let's not forget. A lot of people understand who Justin Fields is. They understand how great this guy can be if utilized properly. And imagine a guy like Derrick Henry, a guy like Saquon Barkley, a guy like Josh Jacobs, a guy some of the other names on there say, hey, you know what? I could go over there. It's not like they're going to take a lot less money because they got to get paid too, but they might be a little more um, less strict about what it is that they want. And again, the longer you wait, the longer that those guys don't get signed, the more and more and more their price goes down. So you may end up having a pick of the litter because unfortunately, me being running back for all 30 years of my football career, that running back position has been devalued. But when you get a
Hmm.
special one, and there are a couple special ones in there,
Yeah.
you might make an exception, but we'll see. We'll see, man. Did you have man? We talked about, joked about it. Like, man, imagine me and one of the guys on the Smoke Fellows. Like, man, he's a Giants fan. I said, man, I said, imagine Saquon, a healthy Saquon, and Justin with an RPOs. Who you gonna key on? Or Derrick Henry. Who are you gonna key on? So I like.
Oh,
I think that's one of those running backs is in play. And man, oh man, oh man, you talk about a weapon. Whew, yeah.
Chris
and he
jumped in
played.
there.
And you think about it, he also played in a very similar system too over at Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that blocking scheme fits him perfectly, man. I mean, bro. Oh,
Guys, I just want to say this, and I'm going to bounce out to the back. I think luxury picks, and I think signing a if you spend 10 million on a running back as a luxury signing, a lot's going to be determined and by the haul we get for the pick. So if you see us go out and sign some guys in free agency, and we probably will know before then, before free agency gets here, we'll know what's going to happen with the pick. But if we sign those guys in free agency, that means we're not going to have the draft capital to go out and draft a running back or somebody that's a lower, I think is a lower priority. So if we kind of pass on some of these guys, I'd much rather them draft a quarter running back than spend 10 million bucks on it. Love to have Derrick Henry, love to have Saquon, love to have Jacobs, but keep a close eye because depending on who we sign is going to say a whole lot about the draft capital that we're going to have. And keep in mind, we can't announce any trades until after the new league year uh, is uh, is here.
Yeah, but how do you know they're going to be 10 million? The longer you go, I mean, the running back
Just
position has been
Hmm.
devalued, and the longer they go, there's going to be a point in time, like Cody Bellinger in the Cubs. Remember, just recently,
I,
he
I,
just signed last night, and the longer they wait, the closer they get to training camp. Man, that probably the dude. I need to get a contract.
Well,
So
well,
here's the,
I totally agree with you, Sean. It does matter, but I still think it's going to be a direct reflection if we sign any of them. Um, on how much draft capital we're going to have. Because if
mhm.
we get to Hall, man, we can draft everything we need, and Trey Benson will be there.
hey
I'm
man,
out.
listen. I think here's a baseline to think about this from. There's a couple things layered into it though. First of all, think about this for a second. The running back franchise tag number is about 14 million and some change. That's number one. Number two, the question is how soon. And if I'm thinking like polls based on how the season ended, the trend that we went on and we kind of went up, and the team started to come together and play together and string some wins together. We looked good at the end of the season. We competed well, very well against some really good teams. And so, is he of the mindset right now that is a dynamic running back what we need to propel us over the top? If I'm thinking like polls and I feel good about our draft capital, I feel good about the spots that we want to fill in free agency. I'm gonna really give that some serious thought. Here's another way to think about it. Without what's his name, the running back from San Francisco, I think there's an
CMC.
yeah,
McCaffrey.
there's a model there that to me without Christian McCaffrey they're nowhere near where they sniffed this year in my
Oh,
opinion,
absolutely.
and he was a key to it. And I think Sean's talking about the devaluation of the running back position, which is true. It's very true, but I think Christian McCaffrey did something for that market this just during this year, and how imposing his presence was on that team and the direction that it took and the distance they went. I think I think the running back position is probably going to be a little bit more valuable in free agency than some people might think. But there's a baseline to think about it from.
But no, man, that's why I kept. If you notice, my whole time I kept saying Saquon, 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 and then other running backs because Saquon fits in that mold where he can do it all. You know, he can
Hmm.
run between the tackles. He can take the outside zone. He can catch the ball out of the backfield.
I think
He
Josh
can.
Jacobs is better than all of them.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not. I'm not. I think Saquon's better, but he's not always healthy. So that's the only issue. Like a healthy
Right.
Saquon, and that's no disrespect, in my opinion, to Josh Jacobs at all, at all. I just think
You
Saquon's a
better.
little better. And I mean, put it this way: whoever's the worst of the two, if we got the worst of those two, I'd be happy as a pig and slop. But you know what? I just think that that's the kind of guy. Look at Christian McCaffrey, what he did. You mentioned it. Like you had to account for him every single time. And when Saquon first started, man, he lined up at wide receiver. He was in motion. They did a lot of things with him. Okay, besides just coming out, just being a running back in the backfield. I like that a lot. And again, I like Jacobs too. Me personally, I just like a healthy, a healthy, a healthy Saquon Barkley.
But that's
See,
why
that's
I'm
why.
leaning more. But
Sorry,
that's why I'm
I'm
kind of
just
leaning.
saying that.
I'm sorry, kids, my fault. But that's why I'm leaning more towards Eckler because to me, Eckler has been durable. The problem with Eckler was he wasn't used properly. I feel with the Chargers. Put him in a system like with the Bears, especially being behind a quarterback like Justin, where now as a defense you got to account for every weapon and just with the play action as well as the RPO. I just think those two together, that's a heck of a combination. Not taking anything away from Josh Jacobs. And Sean, I completely agree with you with Saquon. If we could keep Saquon healthy at least 13, 14 games out of the season, I mean, what he could bring to the table too, man, because he's dynamic by himself. So
That's my only
Either way, I
problem.
don't think we could go wrong with any of those guys. But my pick would be Eckler, then Saquon, then Josh.
My
And
I really think my only issue with Saquon Barkley is durability,
Mhm.
and
yeah,
just availability is your best ability. And for me, if you're going to spend significant amount of money, and I don't care what the dollar amount is, it's going to be over $10 million. If whatever that number ends up being, if you're going to spend some money on a guy, you need a guy that you can count on, man. I'm not taking anything away from Saquon Barkley. He's a
Which could
probably
cause his price to go down, though. That's the thing.
yeah.
And
I was getting ready to say that, Sean.
his floor. I mean, his starting point might not be as high. It could be, but it could drop. Put it this way: it could be high because agents are going to try and get whatever they want. The longer you hold them out, dude, that price is going to drop quick, fast, in a hurry. And even if it's on a 1 year prove it deal, I'll take that. What if you get it for 8 million, 10 million for 1 year?
I
I
seriously.
would be very surprised by that. It's like specifically with Saquon, because he was offered a really nice package last year by the Giants. Really, really
14.
nice. His problem was that it wasn't the CMC number. That was his problem. He's like, I believe that I am at the very least in the same caliber
Yeah,
as McCaffrey and should be paid the same. That was his issue. And I'm not going to knock his ability on the field. I'm not going to knock his self-confidence and what he believes he's worth. What I am going to say is I don't believe the Bears should be putting that type of financial investment into a guy who's generally hurt year on year on year. Eckler, if we're talking about Eckler, I think Eckler's kind of the best of both worlds,
He's
and you can
affordable. He's
probably
more
really
affordable
get him
too.
at a cheaper. This is what I'm saying. You can get him at a much less steep price than any one of those guys. I think he's just as caliber as Saquon. Again, not quite as dynamic, but definitely much more reliable. And very close to a Josh Jacobs in capabilities, pass catching and running the ball. Outside of that, if I'm going to dump money, I want to dump money on a guy who's going to be healthy. And I still look at Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry does get hurt, but that's because he's putting another guy in the hospital along with him. So I'm kind of with it. If you're gonna go out, at least take somebody with you, man. We'll
yeah,
just keep the rock until that happens. It's worth 10 million of my dollars if that's the case. But I like what you were saying though, Sean. If they waited out a little bit, they
That's
might
it.
be able to get somebody on sort of a top loaded, a front loaded contract, 2-3 years, in and around 8 to 10. I think that's a decent move for us with that extra cap room.
It's got
and
to be
here's
at the
something to
end,
think
though,
about
bro. It's
too.
got to be at the end. It's got to be.
And
You
I
know
was
what I
going
mean?
to say
Like when
that.
it comes to the point where you're like, damn, all right, training camp has started, or training camp starts next week, and I need, hey, they got a lifestyle, bro. They got a lifestyle, and you understand that, in that world, remember Warren Sapp used to say, every year you got another mouth to feed. Every year
Yeah,
you got another mouth to feed, whether it's a baby, whether it's a parent, whether it's a sibling of yours or your significant other, something. And you got a certain lifestyle you got to lead. And you know what? 8 million is a hell of a lot better than no million.
well, and
So
that's
Yeah.
what
that's
I was
why
going
I'm
to say,
saying just
Sean.
wait.
Because if you think about it, last year none of those guys signed their deals until right before training camp. All those both uh, Josh didn't sign his until almost mid late July.
But let me
Saquon
just
didn't
correct
sign
you a
his
bit.
until mid late
Those
July.
two deals, those two
Huh?
deals weren't really deals. They weren't really deals. It was like
No,
it was a
but you know what I
situation where
mean
they
though.
didn't want to
Yeah,
they didn't want to pay the franchise tag numbers. So you're gonna play here. We'll give you a little bit less than the franchise number, so we're happy with it. And they signed it. That was basically
yeah.
what both of those guys
Well, some of
But
that
I'm
is
just saying. But look
hold
how
on.
far that went into. So, you know.
into the
Some of
season.
that is absolutely them just waiting, trying to avoid going through certain, vets ain't trying to go through all that training camp.
Mm-hmm.
They
They
don't
don't
need
have
to.
to.
So there's a certain layer of that there as far as the timing goes. Also, man, I just think the reason why I'll just tell you this, and we get ready to move on and pivot right quick. I say Josh Jacobs for a reason. I think there's a 1, 2, 3 back, and I mean from 1 to 3, any one of them can be the best backs in the league, in my opinion. You got Christian McCaffrey, you got Josh Jacobs, and you got Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis. I think any one of those 3 running backs you can consider the best in the league, and could why I say Josh Jacobs is when Foose was at I bet you if I had Flus on this show and gave him a little truth serum, that dude sent. I'm telling you, Josh Jacobs has sent that man packing a couple of times in his own place in Vegas. Man, this dude can put you over the top. If you feel like you got, a pretty decent team that can really compete with everybody in the league, and you're considering getting a back that can put you over the top, trust me when I tell you guys, I like all those guys. But I'm telling you, that dude is something else. And he's durable as HE double hockey sticks. And I'll just say that, man. But if anybody wants to touch that one more time, go right ahead before we pivot.
No, I'm good.
I don't want to
I'm
touch. I don't want to touch Jacobs because again, I'm kind of in full agreement with you there. We didn't really. None of us really talked about Tony Pollard, and he would be an interesting back to bring in. I know he's not your prototypical first round draft pick type guy, but at the same time, he gets the job done. Like there's no questions about that. Relatively healthy, hasn't really experienced any significant injury. And the other thing about him is because he's not that first round caliber guy, might be able to get him on the cheap too.
60-yard dash waiting to happen is Tony Pollard, man. The dude busts long runs like it's it's
Like it
coming.
ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that class. I love hearing the news that they weren't tagging those guys because I was worried about a couple of them, at least Josh Jacobs being one. But I know they're gonna try to get him to the table because they know what he can do to them if he goes somewhere else. They're gonna try to re-sign him. But if he doesn't sign there and we get an opportunity, I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be a lot of fans that, oh, we didn't need to spend that money here, or we shouldn't have done this. I am not gonna complain. I believe in what these guys believe in. They know what they're doing in that front office, and if they sign him for a certain amount of money, they've got some kind of plan for that. Whatever it is, I mean, you can sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal. Let's say a 3-year deal, and give yourself a parachute in the third year of the contract. And so there's ways to kind of secure yourself and buffer yourself in a situation like that. I'm just confident in whatever they decide to do. I really am. But I digress, man. Let's get to why everybody is here and what everybody wants to talk about. Man, oh man, did Peter King break Twitter today, man? I mean, listen, I'm gonna preface this comment by saying this. I got into it with a guy named Melisson. Melisson, if you're watching the show right now, shout out to you. We had a little spirited conversation on Twitter, and he was trying to bust my chops a little bit, letting me know like, hey, all of a sudden now you listening to reporters. No, man, every time I turn around, you busting reporters up. You shouldn't pay attention to. He's telling me all the stuff that I do on the show, and I do get after certain reporters on the show. Not every reporter, but when I see that a reporter is really, like Chris always saying, making the story instead of actually writing it, going and do investigative journalism to report that kind of stuff the right way, I'm gonna bust your chops because I know that the intent is to put pressure on Ryan Poles. You think we're gonna have a platform and just sit here and act like that's not happening? You crazy. We're gonna definitely speak on it. But I digress. He gave me a little stuff about it, and I had to tell him. I was like, look, this dude right here, his track record, and he signed in the polls. I know that for a fact. He said the exact same thing last year, hit a dot.
Mm-hmm.
Said it again on the way out the door, and I think he is telling us what we are speculating about it. He's giving us the truth without actually saying it to us. And so that's just where we'll start. We'll get everybody's take on it.
So yeah, I guess somebody probably should have busted your chops a little bit about that. just mess with you a little bit. At the same time, we are talking about Peter King here. We could also be talking about Albert Breer. There's certain guys who are above reproach, and those are two of them. There's a much longer list. We're really not talking about standard beat writing case scenario, which is usually the guys that Nomad's going after, right? Like those regular beat writers and their idea to really drive a specific narrative and live with that narrative across the board. Peter isn't that guy. Peter's a guy who will actually go out there and sit with. Hopefully, you guys got the opportunity to read what he wrote.
Just read the comments. See, that's that selective amnesia, right? That's the stuff I'm talking about.
He never said they were keeping Justin. He said they were trading the pick. Brad Biggs is the one to listen to, not a retiring Peter. Well, that's an interesting comment, Yada. So Yada Zakwa, last year, Peter King was basically the guy who broke the trade to Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like we can sit here a year removed and look at the fact that he is retiring and moving out. But once more, he's the guy who broke that trade. He went directly to Ryan Poles, which means he has a line to Ryan Poles. So I wouldn't completely nerf what he's saying here, right? There is a little bit of weight. Again, especially considering the radio silence that's been coming out of Hallis Hall. Nothing's coming out of there. So the beat writer case scenario is a little bit questionable. Again, reasons for Nomad to go at those guys. Peter King, not one of those guys.
Well, Kaz, he was very specific in the article, man. He didn't say they would just trade the number one pick. He said they were going to do it twice.
Yeah, doing a double trade back.
And so make sure you touch that as you're responding to that.
Have I not been saying that on my show, and it's been said on this show as well? And I said this is the perfect time, and people got mad, and it just, here's the thing: people have a tendency. We all have habits and tendencies, okay? And if you look at Ryan Poles, I have him, you have him, defensive coordinators have him, offensive coordinators have him, players have him. We're all people. We're all, stuck to our routine or things that we're comfortable with. If you listen to what he said the entire time from Jump Street, I'm building through the draft. He said it, and he hasn't backed off on it once. He's gone after key acquisitions, the Chase Claypool, that didn't work out. And he went after Montez Sweat. That's worked out to this point. All right. Doesn't overspend in free agency. He has an MO, a modus operandi. And you're going to see his thing is draft. And we talked about this with the Herschel Walker deal. Think of all the picks you can get, because that was probably the craziest trade in NFL history. This can beat that. And Poles, who believes in building through the draft, can end up having 12 to 15 players, maybe more, depending on what happens with the first round pick of whoever he trades with next year, because they're going to be bad as well. And what if we get a top 3 pick, a top 2 pick next year when our pick is 22, 23, 24? You see what I mean? Now you're rebuild. This is how you build a team as longevity for a team, because you're getting first and second round picks for 5 years in a row. Look at Detroit. How long did it take them to take first round, second round picks? Because they're at the top of the draft board for years. It finally came together. It's going to come together. And Ryan Poles has been pretty true to his word. And if he's true to his word again, he wants to build through the draft. That haul you're going to get, it's going to be pretty damn huge. That's why I've been saying. That's why I have not wavered. I have not, backed up one step. I've been saying Justin's staying. They're trading that number 1 pick for the haul.
Well said, Superback. I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna double down and say, go back to the original presser when Ryan Poles was hired. As you said, and he eloquently said, it's going to take some time, but I plan on building this through the draft. What has gotten derailed here, which often does by mainstream media, is they try to hijack a narrative so that they can push their own narrative. And what happened, we had some success after. Well, first of all, let me go back 2 years ago when Justin had that run and finished the year out pretty strong. Everybody just assumed, say, okay, well, this coming season we should be that much better. We should really be moving forward, not knowing what was going to happen in the draft. One thing I give Poles credit for, and this goes along with the scouting team, they haven't had any. You can't really say they had a bad draft. Either draft, his first draft or the second draft. So just imagine what he's going to do now, and by trading back those picks, because I believe not only are you going to trade back 1 to 2, and then from 2 to wherever, I think that 9th pick might get traded back as well. And he can just continue to just add more draft capital. So to wrap it all up, we're getting ready to see a major haul and we have a generational talent sitting in our locker room. JF1.
Well, let me say this, man. Here's what it is, man. And I'm gonna frame it to you guys in a way. And I'm not by no means I'm no professional general manager by any means. I'm a peon with a podcast is what I am. But I do know football, and I do try to fancy myself into the mindset of kind of being able to try to figure out good common sense, good judgment of how a guy in his position would be thinking. So here's my way of thinking. I think he's at the most advantageous position of any GM in recent history. And the every time I watch that, I think it was a what is it on ESPN, the story of the 90s Cowboys when Jimmy Johnson pretty much got that haul for Herschel Walker. Yeah, I just keep going back to that. And when I say advantageous, I'm talking about when you start with what Sean said about the man has told you openly, his intent is to build this roster through the draft, build a champion through the draft. And here's a you, I mean the most peak opportunity with the pick, the number one pick being as valuable as it is. It's nowhere near the value level as it was last year. Those two guys were good, but this pick is valuable. And what he can get in return versus that one player that everybody's going and losing their minds about. If you use good judgment, people, if you use good judgment, people, and put yourself in the mind of someone like Ryan Poles and the opportunity presenting itself in front of you, you will never, ever, ever see an opportunity like that present itself again in your life. And so, if you're a team builder and the draft is your modus operandi on how you plan on putting that together, this is the opportunity you've been waiting for, and you're sitting there with $80 million in cap space. And so, when you get through being mad at us for barking out the message we've been barking out, and other people about keeping Justin and reasons why, think about it literally in the terms of a team builder and how he said that he wanted to build his team. We've got a bunch of holes. He's got an opportunity to fill each and every one of them, and you think he's not going to strike at that opportunity, you number one, you're kidding yourself. Number two, how long do you plan on doing that to yourself? Because at some point, it's just like I don't know what the end game is. Are you going to stay a Bears fan? Or are you going to be one of those angry people all year round until the next draft comes around? You're going to be out there with the pitchforks and bats and chains trying to go after Ryan Poles? Are you going to be that guy? Or are you going to enjoy the season and kind of be appreciative of what he's able to put together? I'm just curious about that because there's got to be an end somewhere for some of you people. And I think it's pretty clear to me what Peter King hits dots, man. And he's not saying that stuff for nothing. He knows something. And so it sounds like we're going to get a haul for that number one pick, and we might get another one by trading down twice.
Well, this is Ryan Pohl's ability again in a once in a lifetime case scenario to build the infrastructure. Big word, y'all. Infrastructure for this team over the course of the next 3 years. In the next 3 years, first off, I expect a playoff berth this season. Next 2 years, we should be a contending team after that. Why? Yep. Because we'll have another couple of first rounders that we can do different things with. And I'm a little bit different than the rest of the guys on this show. I need to see it from Justin, but I believe he'll show it. That's sort of where I put it. At the same time, the thing that I'm most worried about is if we go ahead and we do draft Caleb and Caleb struggles this year, it's going to be a complete infrastructural teardown of the existing Bears team. Flus will be on the hot seat. You guys are going to want Flus out. Flus is going to go. Caleb will be working on head coach number 2, possibly OC number 2. And the cycle continues, guys. That's the cycle I don't want to have anything with. And in that respect, whether Justin, in your opinion, is the worst or whether he's the best thing for the Bears in 2024, if only to break that cycle.
Brian, do me a favor. Leave this comment up here because I got a star on it. I'll let you, because here's DBB. He says, I will take a break from watching the Bears if they decide to keep Justin Fields. it would be a disastrous decision.
Come on.
Wow, man. I don't know what to say there. You can take it down.
That might be the Bears blog, bro. That might be the Bears blog. I know DBB is generally what they go by. They have been a little bit towards the idea of drafting Caleb, and again, that's absolutely fine to each his own. If you think about the quarterback conundrum that the Chicago Bears have been within for decades, it's literally this: the media slash fans go crazy when the quarterback doesn't meet expectations in year three. We flush them. Existing head coach stays, fails year, the following year, and the entire thing gets torn down all over again. Tell me if I'm wrong. Feel free to go through history. It's factual. That being the case, I don't want to have anything to do with that, guys. Like every other Bears show has spoken about this quarterback cycle, head coaching cycle, and it's a problem. And here we are again, and half of the fans are already ready to go to jump right back into that cycle with both feet. I'm not with it. I want nothing to do with it.
Addicted to dysfunction. That's the problem.
100%.
For me, it's very, because you're on point with that. But here's the thing: some of these people, and they're saying, well, Justin hasn't shown enough to be paid X amount of money to go forward, to give him a 5th-year option. By whose standards? Okay, because you sitting at home and sitting there and spouting out stats doesn't mean anything to them. What if they've seen all of his work and said, look, despite the fact that he had Matt Nagy, and he looked good under Matt Nagy, let's not get it twisted. He was just a rookie. He made his mistakes, but his footwork was there. His timing was there. His throws were on time. They were in rhythm. He hit. Okay. And then you've seen the athleticism, the off schedule plays. Okay. But it just wasn't consistent, because maybe Ryan Poles said, hey, you know what? I think he was the issue. I'm sorry. I think Luke Getsy was a big part of the issue. But now we have that. If we can get Justin's if he can get his fundamentals down, okay, because he was taught to change certain things, then those inconsistencies, okay, will begin to shrink. Okay, maybe he thinks that Justin is the dude with proper coaching. See, people say, well, he hasn't shown me enough. Well, first of all, who are you? You're not making decisions. Okay, you have to understand that Ryan Poles looks at football completely different. He's a football guy. Okay, he's a football guy. He has a trained eye. He understands, and obviously he has a hell of a lot more information than you and I, and everyone watching. Okay, and everyone else in the media. So when people say, "Well, Justin Fields hasn't shown me enough," are you sure? Are you sure? Do you mean the free play to DJ Moore? The stepping up in the pocket, and think of all the plays that he's made with his feet in the pocket. All right, buying time, rolling to the left, staying out, throw. The inconsistency is the only problem, and if he tags that inconsistency to the coaching that he had, he could say, we get better coaching, Justin's more consistent, we're a much better team. Guess what? I got my quarterback, and that's what I feel that Poles has done. I think he's seen enough of Justin to say, hey, when he's got proper coaching, when his fundamentals are sound, he's phenomenal. Even when he was coached poorly, guess what? The athlete and the stud in him still came up with a lot of amazing plays in the pocket, buying time out of the pocket, or running. It's not up to you guys. It's not up to other people. It's not up to us. Maybe Poles. And it doesn't matter if you think he hasn't done enough. It's so funny you want to spend other people's money. But maybe Poles has his dude. Maybe even Poles realizes he's got his dude. I think he does.
Well, this is what I'm going to chime in and say. For the first time in Chicago Bear history, we actually have a real front office of people that are football people making football decisions. But we have a fan base that seems to be acting as if we know what it's supposed to look like we've seen it before. We've never seen anything like this before in Bear history, period. I mean, come on, guys. This is the most athletic, this is actually the most talented quarterback that we've ever had under center in the history of Chicago Bear football. But yet you have a certain section of the fan base that seem to think that They know what that is supposed to look like. Why? Because they've watched 15, 20 minutes, 60 minutes of somebody else's quarterback and said, that's what our quarterback's supposed to look like. Possibly. But have you really taken the time to actually take a true look at the quarterback that we have and use your own eyes, not on Madden, watching the actual TV, and don't and block all the noise out from the outside and say, hey, you know what? That kid he can play football. Because if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago and even last year, y'all was rah-rahing for the kid until we got the number one pick. So let's be honest here. If we didn't have the number one pick, would y'all be clamoring for Justin to be gone? Or is it just simply two things? Addicted to chaos and greed because we have the number one pick. Think about that, y'all.
That's not
Go
even
ahead,
greed.
Nomad.
That's stupidity, bro. That's stupidity.
Well,
and I was
hey,
about
I
to
didn't
say
want to say
something.
that, bro, because I'd rather
we
form
don't
it in
call
the
it
term of
stupid.
greed.
We don't call it stupid, but it's quite foolish when you frame it that way. To think about the balance there, man. One is really greater than the other, right? And so it could get that simple, right? And so I just I'm done arguing with people about it. Quite frankly, how I see it is, this guy's going to stay true to what he believes. I know one thing when I look at the tape, and I've gone over the season a couple, 2, 3 times now. I see where the problems are. Justin. Not to say that he was A1. No,
Nope, I don't know.
he did some stuff out there that I'm sure that he wishes he could take back. He wishes he could have seen something.
Absolutely. He's even said it himself.
Right, right. But what I'm saying is, you look at that and some of the stuff that people criticize Justin for. I just want them to know that there are 31 other quarterbacks in the league that have the same damn problems, whether you see it that way or not. Patrick Mahomes on down. And so, because you're so allured by the shiny little thing being dangled in front of you and not looking down the road and looking at the bigger picture, the 3-card Marley is fooling you, man. The 3-card Marley man is just gonna make money off you, man, because that's foolishness.
Honestly,
you gotta think differently, man.
You got to
Okay.
think chess,
I-
not
I said-
checkers, and we
I
think
said-
we keep
I
thinking
said I-
checkers. We keep playing checkers, and it's
I-
not. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Well,
Chris.
I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to chime in again. I lied.
You
I heard a
lied.
guy say something earlier, man, about Kansas City. He said, "Why did Kansas City win back-to-back Super Bowls?" And the first answer everybody wants to say is, "Of course, Mahomes." He said, "That's not it." He said, "Of course, Mahomes is a big part of it." He says, "But if you look at that team," he said, "the key word is development. They have developed their players. If you look on the side of the defense, most of those players were drafted. It's development, and that's the same thing. Of course, Mahomes is one of the greatest of all time, and it surely does help. But Tom Brady is now recognized as a GOAT. He didn't win it every year. You have to develop your players. If you look at the beginning of the season, the first 4 weeks, nobody thought KC was going to win it again. They were struggling. But as the season went on, those players started to develop and they became a team. Shout out to Kansas City and their ability to develop their players. Same thing needs to happen here. All right.
But
Look,
here's
I'm
the
not gonna say
problem: is
anything.
that here's the here's Kansas City's record. All right, everyone talks about Mahomes, and you know what? He is great. Okay, he's the best quarterback in the league, hands down. But look at their record before he started.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he came and all of a sudden, wow, they took off and they were 1-15, and then all of a sudden Mahomes took them to the promised land. Their records under Andy Reid before Mahomes started was 11-5, 9-7, 11-5, 12-4, 10-6. Now, how did that happen? Because they had a team. Because they built
Development.
the team. They built teams. They had holes. They filled teams. They developed those players. They became good. They got to a certain point with Alex Smith, and then they said, "Okay, now here's where you get off the ride, and here's where Mahomes comes and takes us the other way." They had a team. The Bears didn't have a team yet. Justin Fields is that dude who's going to take this team to the next level. If you get him, if you imagine if the Bears were 11-5, 9-7, 11-5, 12-4, 10-6, and then Justin took over. Justin had to take over from a gutted team. This is what I'm talking about. Let them build a team. And I'd rather have 6 or 7 first and second round picks as opposed to 1 first round pick, because if it's all on him and he busts, guess what? And be honest. If we get Caleb, we don't get Marvin Harrison Jr. We don't get any more draft picks. Okay, so now we're stuck with 1. I don't mean stuck. Now we've had 1, but what about 9? Do we trade back there? And now we still have holes to fill that we could have filled with some of the draft picks from the number 1 haul, first overall pick. So it's about building the team. It's about, if you're a Bears fan, how can you not want it? And if you listen, isn't this kind of funny? All of a sudden, a lot more people are Deion Sanders backpedaling just like Deion Sanders could, as fast as he could back in the day. And now Caleb might not be the best quarterback. Well, Jaden Daniels is and Drake May, and all of a sudden he might not even be the best quarterback, but he's generational, and he might not be the best quarterback in the league. Everyone's starting to peel back on these grandiose and all the hyperbole that they had with this dude, and to me, it's not worth it. Give me the draft picks, and it was for someone who said, "Well, we can't. We got to have blue chippers instead of draft picks." Well, that's what we're getting. We're getting first and second round picks. That's what we're doing. We're getting first and second round picks, and we're using them.
Honestly, Sean, I want to go back to something that Keith said, and it kind of hit me. And you're not the first person to say it, but I think it's something everybody really needs to think about. If we didn't have that number 1 pick, seriously, y'all, would anybody be talking about Caleb Williams? Because clearly he'd be out of reach. Would you guys be talking about Jaden Daniels then? Would you be talking about Drake May, Bo Nix? Honest to God, let's just imagine for a minute that we didn't have that number 1 pick. Because if we didn't, all we'd be talking about is filling the holes and adding blue chippers. Simple as that. And that's what I'm still saying with the number 1 pick. Fill the holes, address the blue chipper case scenario, because we're going to need more. Best part about that trade is that it laces you and pads you with additional contingency for the thing that all of you guys who are on the fence about Justin, the thing that you guys are all worried about, we'll have contingency for that next year, just like we have contingency for it this year. So that's why I'm not worried about the trade back case scenario. It's the one that makes the most sense. If you're really hell bent on one specific player being Caleb Williams this season, you might not get your wish. You might get your wish at the same time. He might just be that guy, and Ryan might see it completely differently than I do. But I don't think he did. I don't think he will. I think the opportunity to really pad the deck in your favor, stack the deck in your favor, it's too rich to pass up. It'd be almost silly to go the other direction.
I think that when people, I think this is what's going to happen. I think it's gonna. I think the fan bases. I think they're gonna get very lynch mobbish.
Dude,
when it happens,
Nomad,
they're gonna not be happy, man. And
they're not gonna be. And let me just address
what?
real quick. Everybody's crying about if Caleb is good somewhere else, it reflects poorly on Ryan Poles. If CJ Stroud is good somewhere else, it reflects poorly on Ryan Poles. I'm gonna say something else, guys. Odds are, and this is just good old Bears case scenario as it normally is. If he comes here, he's not going to be good. If he goes somewhere else, he's going to be a superstar. Let's just put it out there. Odds are. So be prepared to be upset that he's great next year if he goes somewhere else. Like, we'd be having the same conversation, except a much worse one, if Bryce Young turned out to be a superstar this year. Everybody'd be up in arms, and we wouldn't have this number 1 pick. But guess what? He made the right choice. He decided to skip the quarterback last year. Everybody's mad that CJ's great. Well, guess what? We got the number 1 pick because CJ's great and because they went with the wrong guy. That's why we have it. Did he make a mistake? Why are we raking him over the coals for something that netted him the number 1 pick the following year? Are you going to rake him over the coals if Caleb Williams is great in Washington and they have a poor season?
And we get a top 3 pick again next year.
And we get a top 3. You see what I'm saying? And we get a top 3 pick, top 5 pick next year too.
But that was stupid
Oh,
because
Ryan Pope, you
he
picked
could
the
have
wrong
thrown
girl.
for 4,000 yards. Like, yeah, but we don't have an extra 3 or 4 players to
And
fill the
it's
hole.
Who's he throwing to?
hey guys,
Let me
hold
jump
on,
in real quick.
1 second. Hold on 1 second, man, because I get more of this because I just get more of this than everybody else on Twitter, man. These people, I'm telling you, man, there's a mindset here. They think I don't know what it is, the political era that of these you know just repeating stuff even if it's a lie or repeating stuff just because it's your virtue and they think if you repeat it enough times it becomes reality. And so, half the people that speak and say stuff to me on Twitter, some people I just get so much action on Twitter, I can't respond to everybody. So anybody out there that's following me on Twitter, don't feel like I'm being disrespectful to you. I just got a lot, I can't respond to everybody. And I think I think there's some people with the mindset that, just keep saying it, guys. Just keep saying it, guys. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. What is to happen to what is to become of your mindset when it doesn't? What is I worry about people mentally.
Don't. I know you're. I know you're. You know what I mean. I know you work in mental health to some to some extent, and you have in the past.
Right, bro.
I understand why you would think about that. Um, the reason I'm not worried about it is because I know they're going to lose their like halfway through this season. Again, if Justin Fields isn't the absolute superstar that we'd all like him to be, they will be holding up receipts and waving them in the air. CHGO will be waving it in the air. I hate to throw you guys into the mix. There's a bunch of other channels who'll be throwing it into the air and waving it. You know that. I know it too. But at the same time, I also know that come the following draft, our team will be second to none in the NFL. Like, period. Oh, you paid Justin Fields. Ah, well, whatever. And he didn't work out. Ah, well, whatever. We've got enough capital to either trade for a guy who's in place and could make a difference, draft another guy. His name just won't be Caleb Williams. We'll draft another guy next year. Or we ride with Justin Fields, and Justin Fields might actually have done it. But in the case that he doesn't, the contingency is there, guys. What are you worried about?
Hold on, guys. For anybody else response, Chris, if you don't mind doing our station ID right quick while we still have some time.
Best Chicago Bears content anywhere. Catch Nomad live pregame 1 hour prior to kickoff and Nomad at night postgame. And every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Central on all the most popular streaming platforms. And only on the Nomad Network.
Guys, do me a favor. Anybody that's in the chat, we've got 161 in the chat, so if we can get about 80 likes on here, man, that'll be great. We woke up to 30 new subs today, so you guys really answered the bell for us last night, and I was very appreciative of everybody who the new subs that we had. I thank you guys so much for that. But make sure you hit if you're new to the channel, if you like the content, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, and also go over to Sports Zone Chicago where my guy the Superback resides, and his channel is over there, and do him the same favor, man. We would really, really, really appreciate that. But we got a few minutes before we get out of here, man. I just fellas, man, I'm telling you, man. It's different for me on Twitter, man, than most other people, man. But good Lord, get ready. I'm telling you guys are getting more notoriety. People are starting to find out who everybody is. And, I'm telling you, soon you're going to be going in the grocery store and people are going to be, hey, aren't you from? And you start feeling that. But you'll start feeling that on Twitter, too, and on whatever social media platform you're on. But I'm telling you, man, I'll give you guys some advice. You can't respond to everything. Some of that stuff, you just got to let it fly and let other people handle it. People will go in my timeline and deal with some of the unsavory people in there, and I'm glad for that. I appreciate it because I just don't have time for it. But I digress, fellas. I love the fact that Peter King is the one that said it. Had it been from a lot of other sources, I don't know how much I'm listening to that, but because Peter King rarely speaks on this stuff in the first place, and the timing in which he said it was perfect as to what he did last year. I mean, I think people need to, you got to absorb the, just wrap your mind around the thought that Poles thinks they can build this team around Justin. He thinks he can lead this team into the future. I also think he can. I think when you put the pieces around him, I think we're all going to find that out, and be pleasantly surprised, I guess, some of you. But, I imagine there'll still be people complaining that we didn't get Caleb Williams. I don't know, man, but you guys go ahead and take it, man.
Man, that's a like I said, that's a guarantee. I'm gonna wait for it. And again, I hope that you know I hope we stick with Justin as I've clearly stated today. I hope we do stick with Justin, and I hope that they bring all that heat and complain about why we didn't get him for the rest of the season. I got no problems with it because once more I know Pulse has a plan. Moving forward, that contingency will be in place. We'll have that many more blue chippers, and we will be able to not only compete with the Detroit Lions of the NFC North, but the rest of the North as well. That I'm confident in. I'm also confident that 2 years from this draft, we should be a Super Bowl contending team, with or without a change in quarterback. We'll see what that looks like as we move forward.
Yeah, our team's going to be built up. It's going to be the team, the Cowboys of the '90s. All right, as I mentioned before, Troy Aikman wasn't a generational quarterback. He wasn't a game-changing quarterback. He, along with Tom Brady, he was probably one of the best game managers. He had, and the guys who won that Super Bowl, Eric Williams, okay, Larry Allen, okay. We're talking about that offensive line they built up, that defensive line that they built up. That's where they won it. All right, then you had Emmett Smith, then you had Michael Irvin, and you had the tight end, it was a Novacek, and you had Alvin Harper for a quick minute. Okay, and Troy Aikman was the beneficiary of that, and I'm not disrespecting him by any stretch. Okay, he was fortunate enough to play with with a great team, and this is what Ryan Poles is doing, building a great team. Obviously, he saw what happened in the '90s. Okay, and then he went to work for a Chiefs team that I just told you the record before Patrick Mahomes was the starter. So he understands that you build a team, and that's what he's doing.
It's funny.
And he also
It's
said
funny
that
you
it's
bring
not
that
that
up because they had a team built around Pat Mahomes before he showed up, guys. And I think that's an important factor to clue into. Everybody making the Mahomes Caleb comparisons, etc. Mahomes had a team. Alex Smith had a team. He had a 5,000-yard season that season, right? That being the case, he didn't just walk in and take over and build himself. He excelled with a team around him, and that's what we're trying to get to, except everybody and their mother is so focused on quarterback. And there's a reason for it. Reason is we've never had one to really write home about. I think we do right now, and I think we should double down on it.
Well, I'm going to double down on this. Ryan Poles is going to essentially make the best decision based on what's available. And he's been doing that since he's taken over. Nobody really wants to pay attention to the tea leaves, and this man has been telling us the absolute truth on what he's going to do out the gate. Number two, we have a quarterback who is very competitive, and he himself has held himself accountable many times when he's walked to the podium and stated he know that there's areas of his game that he needs to improve on, and I believe in the young man that he's going to go out and do just that. And because of that, something that resonated with me when it comes to Ryan Poles when he speaks about the players, but especially about his quarterback. He talks about the character of the man, not so much the player as much as the character of the man. And I believe that he has seen enough in the character of the man that is his QB1 that's currently on roster to where he believes that with the right pieces around this young man, he can take this team to heights that we haven't seen in quite a long time. And because of that, I'm going to trust in Ryan Poles. I'm going to trust in Justin Fields. I'm going to trust in this complete organization because I believe Kevin Warren, the McCaskey family, along with Flus, trust in Ryan Poles to make the proper decision. Now, for those that don't like what's being said, I get it. But just imagine this. If we did draft Caleb, we would have essentially five picks left. What are you going to build off of five picks versus you take one pick and you multiply that?
Okay, so we're at the 1 hour mark, and that signals to us it's time to get ready to get out of here. I'm gonna say this before I go around. Everybody can say their pleasantries on the way out. Um, I know, and I believe most of the people that want Caleb Williams know this too. They know that this kid has a potential in Justin Fields. They know he has potential to rise to the occasion. I know he will when given the proper equipment around him and the proper pieces around him. He's going to rise to the occasion because he's that competitive. He just is, man. And again, like I said, I think we're going to be having a different conversation a little bit later on when we see how this roster is being built around this situation. I think people are going to start feeling differently. They'll lighten their stances a little bit, and you know, for lack of a better word, kind of simmer down a little bit. You know what I mean? But I believe 100% that this kid is going to rise to the occasion. I have no doubt in my mind, as a matter of fact. But I digress, man. Anybody got any pleasantries before we get out of here? Go ahead, kids.
I definitely do. Big up to the chat. I mean, we're almost up to 200 on a Monday. That's super crazy. Like, share, subscribe, guys, please. We appreciate that you've all joined, and we definitely appreciate all the discourse, whether positive, pro Fields, whether negative, pro Caleb. We're all about it. I think all together, it's really it's really pro Chicago Bears, and that's something that I kind of want to stress before we get out of here today. I don't. I want them to keep Justin, and I've said it twice today. At the same time, if that's not the direction that they go, if they decide to draft Caleb Williams, I'm supporting Caleb Williams to the nines to the fullest. And the reason for that is because if he struggles and has failure and some issues next year, and you guys are screaming about it, I'm gonna lose my you know what come the end of the season. So I'll be pro Caleb's right along with you guys. Bear down.
Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, just want to thank all the sports owners and no maniacs for coming out and getting crazy. What'd you say? Almost 200 people in the chat in the middle of the day on a Monday. That's what I'm talking about. Great stuff. We appreciate the love and the support, and just keep it. You know, it doesn't matter if you're pro Caleb, if you're pro Fields. It doesn't matter. Come on here, talk. You know what? Defend your point. All right. It's a public forum. We're not. You know, just because we believe what we believe, it doesn't mean we're trying to silence you or anything like that. And that's the cool part of it, is we can debate. Guess what? We didn't have to call anyone names today. We didn't say you're a moron if you think that. I said it was a stupid thought process, but I didn't call anyone names. It's just great. It's just great to have a lot of back and forth, and it's just great to have a lot of back and forth because it's discussions. This is a discussion, and it's fun to talk. And at the end of the day, we're all supposed to be Bear fans. We can have our idea of what it is we want to happen, but when it's all said and done, like Ked said, I have no ill will toward Caleb. If he's a quarterback moving forward, then he's a quarterback moving forward. Doesn't mean I'm gonna stop liking Justin Fields. I'll keep an eye on him, but I'm rooting for my Chicago Bears. Excuse me, I'm rooting for my Chicago Bears, and that's what it is. I just think, as I said last time, I think Justin Fields is the best option to lead this Bears team to a Super Bowl.
Go ahead, Key. Or
I
Chris.
thought Chris was going to chime in.
Yeah, well, I just want to say real quick, thanks to everybody in the chat. We love you guys. Thanks for your support. Continue to subscribe, like, and share. Guys on the panel, I love you guys too. Sean, kids, it's good to see you, brother. Keith, as always, love having you here. Nomad, you all right. I did want to say congratulations to Peter King on his retirement. He's been one of the most, he's been even all his career. He's one of the
Cheers,
guys
Peter King.
that I trust when I read his column. Monday Morning Quarterback has always been a must read for me. So congratulations to Peter King on your retirement, and enjoy. And hey, guys, bear down.
Go ahead, Key.
To our no maniacs, thank you again for chiming in with us today. Really do appreciate it. Hey, to have close to 200 people in the chat, man, that shows the love for us, and we do appreciate it. To kids, Sean, Chris, Nomad, as always, it's always a pleasure to chop it up with you guys and talk Bears football. But I want to leave you with this: trust the character of the man. That goes for Ryan Poles, that goes for Justin Fields, and anybody you come in contact with. But more importantly, we are pro Bears fans. I'm a pro Justin fan, And like Sean said, if he's not our quarterback, I'm gonna still, keep an eye on him, wish him well. But more importantly, I trust what Ryan Poles is doing, and I really believe that we are really about to venture onto something very special this season and the next couple seasons to come. So, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in with us today, and don't forget, jump in with us this evening, y'all, cause we will be back.
We mock drafted tonight.
Mock
Go ahead,
draft.
no man.
And Brian Hendren in the back, man, you're doing a fantastic job on the chat. Love you too, brother.
Who's mocking tonight?
Well, I was just about to close with that. So tonight we
Okay.
have
Thanks, Chris.
at 7 p.m. Central tonight. We're supposed to have J2K, who was supposed to be here last week, but some stuff happened at the end. He couldn't do the show.
Walls of Jericho.
Yep. J2K is he's supposed to come and do the draft tonight. Hopefully he'll show up and get there and everything will be good. But 7 p.m. Central tonight, we'll be back with J2K's mock draft. But I think these guys said enough. I don't want to embellish any longer, man. They did a good job. Great show, fellas, man. Great engagement in the chat. Make sure you guys that are new to the channel do us that good solid favor, even if you don't like us. Go ahead and do us a solid favor and hit the subscribe button because I would help you in that way if I could. And so we're just all fans, man, just trying to, rough, just kind of going through our different, emotions about what's going on right now. And you don't have to agree with everything we say on this channel, man, but you're welcome to come here with your argument and your conversation. It's all as well. It's all as well for us, man. So I'll just say that to close this out, but I got to leave you guys with these famous words: love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Bear down.
Peace. Boom.